Most people think looking expensive means spending serious money, but that's not really true. Because once you understand what actually makes a watch feel premium, you start noticing something interesting. Some watches get those details right, without the luxury price tag. And Seiko has been doing that quietly for years. So in today's video, we're breaking down 5 Seiko watches that look way more expensive than they really are. Let's get into it. If you think Seiko can't feel refined, this is the one that changes that fast. The Presage Sharp Edge series doesn't try to impress with bold design, it leans into detail, and that's where it wins. The dial is the first thing that stands out. Instead of a flat surface, you get a deep textured pattern inspired by traditional Japanese design. As light moves across it, the dial shifts, creating a level of depth that feels far more premium than expected. Then there's the case. True to its name, the edges are sharp, clean, and precise. The transitions between brushed and polished surfaces are crisp. Not soft, not blurred. It feels intentional, controlled. On the wrist, it sits perfectly balanced. Not too flashy, not too simple. Just enough presence to feel expensive without trying too hard. Inside, you get Seiko's automatic movement with a solid power reserve, adding real mechanical value behind the design. And this is where the perception shifts, because nothing about this watch feels entry-level. It feels like something that belongs in a much higher price category. What really stands out is how cohesive everything feels. Nothing looks out of place, nothing feels rushed. Every detail works together, and that's what creates that premium impression. It's the kind of watch that doesn't rely on hype. It earns its impression the longer you look at it. Quiet, sharp, refined. And that's exactly why it deserves a spot on this list. If you think field watches are supposed to be simple, this one proves they don't have to be. The baby Alpinist takes a classic idea and elevates it in a way most watches in this category don't. The dial is where it starts. That deep green sunburst finish immediately stands out. Depending on the light, it shifts from a darker forest tone to a brighter metallic green, giving it a level of richness that feels far beyond its price. Then you notice the details, the gold-toned markers, the cathedral-style hands. Small touches, but they completely change the personality of the watch. It doesn't feel like a basic field watch anymore. It feels more refined, more considered. The case sits around that perfect everyday size, making it extremely wearable. Balanced on the wrist, with just enough presence to stand out without feeling oversized. And unlike the original Alpinist, this version keeps things cleaner. No extra crown, no internal compass, just a more focused, more modern execution. Inside, you get Seiko's automatic movement with a strong power reserve, bringing real mechanical substance behind the design. And this is where it becomes interesting, because most watches at this level feel like compromises. This one doesn't. It feels like a watch that was simplified, not cheapened. There's a confidence in how it's put together. Nothing feels forced. Nothing feels overdone. And that's what gives it that expensive look. Not complexity, but control. And that's exactly why it earns its place on this list. Chronographs at this price usually try too hard to look impressive. This one doesn't need to. The Seiko Speedtimer, Panda, stands out for a different reason. Balance. At first glance, the dial is what pulls you in. That clean white base, contrasted with the black subdials, creates a layout that feels instantly familiar, but also very refined. It's sporty, but controlled. Nothing feels crowded. Nothing feels forced. The proportions play a big role here. The subdials are perfectly spaced. The hands are sharp and easy to read. Even the small details like the markers and chapter ring feel carefully aligned. It gives the watch a sense of precision, visually and functionally. Then you get to the case. Compact, solid, and well-shaped. It wears smaller than most chronographs, which makes it far more versatile on the wrist. You get presence without the bulk. Inside, it runs on Seiko's solar chronograph movement, which completely changes the ownership experience. No battery swaps. No winding routine, just consistent performance with real everyday practicality. And that's where the value becomes clear. Because most chronographs in this range either focus on looks or functionality, this one delivers both. There's a clarity in the design that makes it feel more expensive. A sense of control that you don't always get at this level. Sporty, clean, precise, and that's exactly what gives it that premium impression. Most people see this as a simple everyday watch, and that's exactly why it surprises them. The Seiko 5 Sports doesn't try to look expensive. It's not built around luxury cues or flashy details. But once you handle it, you start noticing something different. It feels solid. The bezel action feels defined. The overall construction gives it a presence that goes beyond what you'd expect at this level. Then there's the dial. Clean, highly legible, and well-balanced. The markers are bold, the hands are clear, and everything is designed with function in mind. Nothing is overdone, and that's what works. Because instead of trying to impress visually, it builds its value through consistency. On the wrist, it wears comfortably. It's versatile, easy to pair, and works in almost any situation. And that everyday usability adds to its perception. Inside, you get Seiko's automatic movement, bringing mechanical credibility to what many people assume is just a basic watch. And this is where expectations shift. Because while it sits at the more accessible end of the range, it doesn't feel cheap. It feels dependable, well-built, thought out. There's a quiet confidence in how it's put together. No unnecessary elements. No forced design choices. And that's exactly what gives it that subtle, premium feel. Simple, functional, honest, and far more impressive than people expect. Most people expect solar watches to feel basic, lightweight, practical, nothing special. But this one changes that impression immediately. The Seiko Solar Speedtimer doesn't look like a compromise. It looks like a properly designed sports watch that just happens to be powered differently. The dial is where it stands out first. Clean layout, sharp markers, and well-defined subdials create a look that feels structured and intentional. Nothing feels crowded. Everything has space. It's sporty but controlled, just like a good chronograph should be. Then there's the case. Solid, well-proportioned, and comfortable on the wrist. It carries presence without feeling bulky, which is rare for watches in this category. And that balance changes how it feels day to day. Inside, the solar movement removes one of the biggest inconveniences in watches. No battery changes, no winding routine, just consistent performance powered by light. That practicality adds a different kind of value, one you actually notice over time. And this is where perception shifts again, because most people associate solar with entry-level watches. This doesn't feel entry-level at all. It feels complete. There's a sense of reliability and control in how everything comes together. Nothing feels like a shortcut. And when you step back and look at it as a whole, it delivers the kind of experience you'd normally expect from something more expensive, modern, practical, well-executed. And that's exactly why it's the perfect way to close out this list.